All right, let's do it live on a Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. Merely Bo, the great Z. We're back and better than ever. How you living, buddy?
Boy. Hello.
Hello.
Happy to be back with you.
Sure you are. Yeah. It's nice. Nice to be back.
But boy, was it great to be in Tucson, paying homage to Zago, paying homage to the great Lizbeth. Those Catalina foothills, they speak to me in a very strong way.
Very emotional way.
They
the
do.
Plums. They affect you in the plums.
They do. Deep in the
plums.
Deep in my
Yeah.
plums. Yeah. But so it was a great week. It was great to be there. I basically probably was flying out as the whole NFL world was flying in.
Seems like it.
To Phoenix. Very lucky with. Wait a second. What is this first sentence on here on this rundown? I'm not coming back for this kind. No.
What is this information?
I mean, technically, his internship is up on March 31st.
Yeah, but I thought we have
why
scores
was I-
that
I
there
don't-
are.
I-
Why are we
nothing has
just
been done.
Why are we just now being made aware of that?
Well, you've been gone since the 20th.
I know. But hi, Gibby, by the way.
Hi, good to see y'all.
How did that Duke?
Hello,
How'd
Jason.
that Duke result sit with you? How was that?
302.
I mean, 2 years in a row, two of the worst ways to
302,
lose.
and if I could go egg your house tonight, I would.
You could.
Two of the worst losses in back-to-back tournaments.
Our electricity's still on the outside, so we're the only ones without outdoor lighting.
How's
Be
that
easy to
possible?
find. I have no idea.
What the hell's going on at your estate?
I don't know. Happens all the time. Yeah, that was as stupid. So back to the lead here. Well, I'm sure we'll talk Duke later.
We will.
He has 2 left. Today, tomorrow?
Today and tomorrow, according to the contract.
Okay.
This aggression will not stand.
No.
Young Gabriel's family.
Also aware of that.
Yeah, we're really jumping on a treadmill going like on a 15.
Well, I just
There is a
glanced down this.
There's a lot going on
We're
here.
talking Tucson. We're talking NFL meetings.
Then
We're
you
talking
glance
all
down
kinds of
and-
stuff. We glance down, and now
Sure.
young Gabriel tries to bring you down. Other things are trying to give you a little bit of pep back in your step.
Give you a little juice. Jeez.
It's good to see you, though.
It's great to see you.
It's a beautiful
yeah,
baby blue on that quarter zip that you got
yeah,
there.
nice job.
So that's
nice
I'd call that more of like a sky.
Yeah,
Like
it may even have a little aqua to it. I'm not entirely
could.
sure. It could have a little
Can't
bit
say
of
it
aqua.
wouldn't.
Yeah, the we were down on the 30A, which, as it turns out, much similar, I'm sure, to the Catalina foothills. The sun shines a lot.
We didn't see a cloud.
Yeah.
Zero. Not a cloud.
Nay,
Nay.
no.
And the way the sun would hit the mountains.
Oh, sure. You get the pastel sunsets. Like it's all
Jeez
happening. It's
Louise.
really gorgeous.
Watercolor.
Yeah, it was lovely. Just lovely. We did not have a single. I just want to, we thank people, and my wife gave some gift cards and stuff to the TSA folks here when we left.
That's very nice.
But we had no issue. I mean, you guys know my travel issues are well documented.
We had none either
through the
direction.
years. I had nothing. It was very smooth. Here at the TSA Clear Line on a week ago
There was
Friday,
nobody.
there was nobody. We
Same.
walked straight through.
Same.
And there were no problems. We ended up flying out of Panama City. There were no problems there. We flew through Houston,
Same in Phoenix.
and there was nothing. Now, Houston outside, I was told was not great, but like in the airport, and maybe because everyone was on the outside, in the airport there was nothing. It was really easy. So, I don't know. And I did think it was cool. I want to say it was John Glenn down in Columbus, the airport down there. They put out something saying, hey, don't show up 4 hours before. Okay, you're making it worse because now we have everybody who's flying from 6 to 10 a.m. all here at midnight, and you're just clogging it. So they said 90 minutes. They put out the thing, be 90 minutes before your flight, you'll be fine. So that I thought was, we follow that would be helpful.
Certain airports that are disasters and others that are not. One thing and people didn't even notice, I was talking to some people who were flying. I said, you can go on the website of the airport that you are going to, and they will give you real time updates on the TSA waits.
Yeah.
So we did that as we were driving in, and Miss Kay was a little nervous. She wanted to make sure we got there in plenty of time. But I was like, hey, it's 5 minutes, 5-minute TSA. Now, when we were in Phoenix, there were, I think I maybe saw 2 or 3 TSA agents total. It was all others.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I saw none of the others.
Yeah,
Not here
it was
or
all in.
It was
in
all ICE?
Phoenix. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And ERO. There were guys who said ICE, and there were guys who said ERO, which
Oh.
I don't know what or EOR.
I don't know.
So.
Yeah. OAR is a band. Here it
Out
was
of Columbus, right?
Yeah. Here it was TSA. It was great, and Panama City was great. So, yeah, all good on that.
Well, yeah,
which
we
is
had
good.
great. We had another great Turo experience.
I know you really
Boy,
do.
do I love it. It was,
You do.
I
You've
do.
had good luck. I've only done it once, and it did not go well. And
I know, which
haven't done it
saddens
again.
me. It saddens me a great deal. I'm looking for something too. So we went out there. Wednesday we ended up doing basically Miss K's birthday. So we flew in. Very nice people. Our Airbnb. If anybody's ever going to Tucson, I've got the Airbnb for you. Like, especially if you're split, like one couple, if you want to go very lavishly. But if you've got like two couples that are going, two full-on kind of suites.
Yep.
Perfect location. 360-degree views of the mountains, pool, all of it. Epic, elite, high recommend. So I've got that anytime you're going to the Catalina foothills. But so, yeah, that Wednesday we did that. We got to come in. We hung out by the pool. We went down to the Arizona bookstore, which was the first thing we did.
Yep.
They didn't have what I was looking for.
What were you looking for?
I was looking for either a quarter zip, a nice quarter zip, or a nice golf hoodie with the old Loot Arizona logo with the cactus. They didn't even have, even if I wanted the modern logo, their collection of quarter zips and hoodies were almost non-existent. They had a Lulu partnership where they had one thing, but it was like such a heavy hoodie, and that's not what I was looking for at all. But they did not have, like, for example, at the Vandy bookshop, which is the only other bookshop I've been to recently, they had a whole Grayson section. They had a whole they had every golf company.
Athleisure.
They had every athleisure company that you would want was all there with exactly what you wanted them to have.
So the same.
Arizona did not have that.
Florida State was the same. It was one of the greatest bookstores I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And they had every athleisure brand that you'd ever want.
Yeah.
They had. There's one chance that I'm. This is this.
So I ended up getting a cool, kind of loud polo, louder than I would have liked it to be, but with the Arizona, with the Loot logo. So I was pretty pumped about
this.
that.
We don't need to name names, but these guys do a pretty good job with this stuff. But I do not see the old.
Yeah,
I don't see the old one. I see the new one. There's one company that does a lot of the old ones, but they don't have a partnership with Arizona.
But so I'm happy. I got one piece of gear. We got a little.
Did you get into the hoops?
Onesie. Of course we got. Yeah, watched a lot
Because I know
of the hoops.
you don't watch a lot of the college hoops, but
no.
How do you? Because I'm curious if it was like this for you in your travels. Now you flew Saturday,
Wednesday morning, and then flew back Saturday. But we were home in time. And by the way, let me just tell you something. I thought I was reading the times wrong when they're like Arizona starts on Thursday night at 6:45 in Arizona
Pacific. Yeah,
I was like,
that can't be right.
I was like, so this game's going to start at 3:45 in the afternoon here. No,
the
games on Thursday and Friday were 7 and 10.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's absurd. I mean, that you were on until 1 o'clock in the morning.
What are we doing?
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know why they don't start at 6. I don't know why. At least get another hour, give you a chance. But 9:45, 10:05 when there's no reason to. There's only 2 games those nights.
Right.
Illinois Houston tipped at 10:25.
If
That
you'll
did.
play,
I watched it till 12:30 in the morning. I'm like, this
That was
is ridiculous.
Friday, Gibby?
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
just
Yeah.
do 3.
Thursday night, we stayed up and watched that one live because we flew Friday. And then Friday night, I was exhausted. I can't remember what the late game was Friday night, but we ended up watching a lot of it. And I'm like, okay, they're up 12. I'm going to bed.
Is that
They should be
Tennessee
4 and
and-
Might have been
7.
Tennessee.
They should be at 4 and 7.
Well, you probably can't do 4 because
Why?
you're not in East prime time at all. I mean, you want to
If
be
you're
in the
at
East in
7.
the prime time. 4 and 7
Yeah,
Eastern,
that's how the NFL is.
like on a Thursday.
yeah.
No, you can't do that. People are working, but like you could start at
6:30?
6. You go 6:05. You could go 6:05 and
I think
9.
9 is still pushing
9:15.
it. That's pushing it.
But at least you have a chance. You can't do 10.
But like the Thursday
crazy.
before, you're 12. There's games all throughout the day.
Right, but by that point, you're only playing 2 games, and they both want the prime time.
I'm in
I
Buffalo
think
for the
it's
first
crazy.
round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
I think it's crazy.
Okay?
Yep.
It's St. Louis and it's Georgia. The final game of the night.
Yeah.
We tipped at 10-17.
10-17 in
In
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Why is there not some common sense? Like front load the east side and
It
then
was ridiculous.
back load the west.
I
Have all
don't
the
know.
10 o'clock tips be in the western time zone or mountain time zone.
Yeah.
You know the funny thing about it, though, and I'm curious if it was this way for you guys. There are tens of millions of people who don't watch a single second of college basketball, and then this time of year consume it like mad.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing else like it, save for like the World Cup.
Yeah.
Or like maybe like the Masters.
Sure.
Where like people don't pay attention, but they just lock into this. And I don't know if it's it's probably brackets and sports gambling and all of that helps, I think. But people just buy in. There was nothing else on any television that I saw in any airport, any bar, any restaurant we were at. And we were there for all of the first and second round and most of the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, Sweet 16, Elite 8. We got back on the last day of the Sweet 16, and every airport bar, every restaurant, everything was college basketball. Nothing else. Not baseball, not NBA, not nothing.
Yeah.
It was all college.
As it
hoops.
should be. And it was great. It was great. And
really fun games.
Arizona's strong.
Well, like them against Michigan's, that's it.
That's the Rams Seahawks in the NFC Championship game.
Arizona has no holes. They have none.
No, and they got
Michigan's
punched in the
really
mouth
good,
a little bit by Purdue, and I thought the way that they responded in that second half was incredible. But yeah, so Thursday we got to watch it on Wednesday night we ended up going to I told you about this, Lowe's of Antenna Canyon. They got a great restaurant there, the Flying V. We went there, had a great meal for Miss Kay's birthday. And then on Thursday, did a bunch of shopping, and then we ended up cooking a bunch of steaks and had everybody over and had some awesome wines from Zago's cellar, and it was cool. It was just great. And then we got to watch the game, and it was a blowout. I mean, it was a slumping. So it was so easy. Everybody was very content. So we ended up kind of eating and hanging out because a lot of people who hadn't seen each other in a long time. So we didn't really start the game almost until it was halftime, but everybody stayed in there, stayed good. Nobody knew. And Danny was in charge of the remotes and had it going, would move it along at his leisure, and everybody's like, just get to live. Let's watch the second half live, and he was very steadfast.
Boy, he held firm.
I
would have been one of those people, just get to live.
Yeah, it was very much a dictatorship.
Wow.
And he was running it, Danny, and he got it done. And so that was fun. And then on let's try to think what other highlight. Friday night or Friday day, we have lunch. I found this place. You love this. You can search, best tacos in the Catalina foothills. And
sure.
Gave me a place called Amelia's. Got great street tacos, but they also had, birria. Is that how you say it? The birria, like the birria tacos. It's that beef that's been like really marinated and shredded, and
I
it's
don't
so
know.
good.
I don't know if I've had it.
Quesabirria, sometimes they call it there's a cheese with it. They had a birria ramen. And it was like, I applauded. I finished it, and I stood up. And
Great job.
Like I said, this should win an award. This should be a James Beard Award. This is one of the great things I've ever had in my life. We had a nice dinner and an honoring and a remembrance of Lizbeth at her church. They use a lot of incense. I've never seen that. I think it's Episcopalian, and they were really whipping the incense around.
Okay.
I mean, there was a cloud hanging in the building of the incense. Sneezing was happening. But it was beautiful service. And then we went to Vivace, which is an Italian place up there that has been – I've only been there 3 times in my life. Krista's rehearsal dinner, Zago's remembrance, and Lizbeth's remembrance. So 1 out of 3 very positive.
Yeah.
But a good meal. And then I'm talking with my good buddy Ken and Lori Kavanaugh, and I had heard this rumor that they knew of the best banana cream pie in the world. And so –
bold.
On Thursday, they were going to bring it over, but the game ended so late, the place was closed in Tucson. I don't think restaurants on a Thursday are staying open until 10:30. On Friday, he brought it over after the remembrance. And it's from Zinburger. If you ever are in Tucson area, Zinburger, like a Zinfandel burger, Zinburger.
Okay.
And it was the greatest banana cream pie that I've ever had in my life. And in fact, I ate it, and everybody was getting. All of a sudden, I look, and it's like a cow had been dipped into a piranha-filled river.
Yeah.
Everybody's got spoons, banana cream, and things are flying. But I came out in the morning. Nobody never made it back into the refrigerator, and it just looked like a car had run over this pie. Very little was left. It was all like a skew, though, but incredible.
Better than Emerald's.
And then very sad we had to come. I don't know that I've ever had Emerald's at Emerald's.
Okay, that's the best
in New
one
Orleans.
I've had that was his signature dessert at the original Emerald's in the warehouse district.
Because we've never eaten there. That has not been on the meal plan. But yeah, and then we had to come. But it was great trip. Just the vitamin D, the dry heat. I mean, when we were there the whole time, it was 95 to 102.
Yeah, the
Didn't even feel
Amy's folks in the desert were like 108, 110. Because that was another place we were considering. So that there was some. I know there's some record heat out there, but you're a little bit elevated, so you're probably
a little
keeps you
cooler.
out of that a little cooler.
But I got to tell you something. It was like, it felt like a nice 75-degree day here in the summer.
Right. You really, I always say that when people worry about like the heat, and I suppose when it gets to be like 120 or something, that's a real one. But
Yeah.
I think anything between 95 and 105, I always find fine.
Fine.
I just wear long sleeves, and then when you sweat and if you're in a golf cart or whatever, it cools you. It's like an air conditioner.
I was wearing no sleeves, baby. I was just out there, no shirt, just
that's
let the
something I
sun
learned in
get
the
me.
South. Like you wear the long
Right.
sleeve breathable, and then when you get a little breeze, it's like an air conditioner. But yeah, very good. And yeah, weather was great.
It was great.
Yeah, that's
We
great.
did hear, though, in the middle of one night, leapt out of my bed. So one of the cool things about the Catalina foothills is like the houses are, there are houses. You don't really even see another house, even though you're at your house, because there is a lot of growth. There are some palm trees and the suarus, but behind is kind of like a wash basin.
Yep.
And it's like nature.
Sure.
Middle of the night, we hear a bunch of coyotes. Then we hear something that was not happy with the current state of affairs for its being, which went quiet rather quickly, and then more coyotes. And we ran out there and checked it out. I couldn't see it, but it was right out there somewhere.
What was the carcass?
We couldn't see it because
What
there's
did the
so much
sound did it
brush.
make? Well, how would you describe the sound? A shriek?
Wailing death
Okay.
and
Probably
just
a young
being
deer, I would say, right?
ripped.
Yeah, probably a small deer.
Maybe I don't know if there are deer there. Could have been.
Oh, there would be. I
Would
would
there
think
be?
There would be, yeah.
So they always say the nature you could see a lot of big bunnies. Could have been a couple of bunnies just getting T-rashed. Could have been a javelina.
Oh, sure, a little javelina.
Yeah.
I don't know if a coyote would mess with them too much, though, right?
The
Don't they-
coyote. So we saw a coyote on the road driving home one night,
Yeah.
and it looked like a German Shepherd. These were not.
Yeah, usually coyotes in my dealings with them have been pretty skittish and have no real interest, but maybe they're so used to humans
Well, it
out
was
there.
pitch black. This was like 3 a.m.
Oh, I see.
So this happens in the
in
naturey
the
area.
naturey area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge.
Yeah.
Nature always wins.
They always.
It's undefeated.
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah. So that was it. But it was.
Well, good.
Yeah, great trip. Fun to be with family, and Pedro is in great form as always. Gotta give a shout out to my guy Chip Plowman. Chip Plowman. So this is I told you the story on the phone, but I'll tell it because I think it's funny. So Chip is a longtime friend of Zago's, total Renaissance man, one of the smartest people I've ever met. Great golfer, great mind, big baseball guy, history buff, knows a great many things about a great many things. Like. If I was playing a Trivial Pursuit like to the death, I would want Chip on my team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's the kind of knowledge base
He's that guy.
he has. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd feel really, really good.
In the
about
old
things.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, he's your phone a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chip
You'd
would
feel
be
pretty good,
right
yeah.
up. Yeah. And he at some point he's very nice. He listens to some of the calls, some of our games on Sirius. And I asked him about the NFL. He said, I haven't really been a fan in a while of the NFL. I don't really care for it all that much. I said, well, when was the last time you were a fan of the NFL? And he said, the year before Johnny Unitas retired, which covers a lot of ground. He said, I really liked it when it was an 8-team league. But then at one point he's like, we really should exchange numbers and so we can stay in touch.
Yeah.
And I was like, Chip, I'd love that. And
Sure.
I'm like, so here you go. Let me give you my number. He's like, no, I'm not ready for it yet. He's like, I'm not ready for
Such
it
a
yet, which
crazy
was
statement. It's
hysterical.
amazing.
And then we had this whole back and forth all night. I kept trying to give him my number, and he's like, no, I have to be in control. You're taking control of the situation for me. And it was very funny. And then eventually I got the number into his phone and said, ha-ha,
I win.
I win. So, yeah, just a great time out there. And for Arizona, that's one cool thing about Tucson is that it is like that is the show.
Yeah,
Arizona
college
basketball.
towns, those college towns that don't have pro sports but have grown. So, like a lot of the southern schools that you've been to, these towns have grown up around these campuses.
Yep.
And now they're becoming. In the old days, they were small college towns, and now they're becoming just relatively decent sized cities that have just become boom towns because there's look, I've said it all the time that it's really hard to beat a big game on campus, and whether that's football or basketball or whatever, there's an energy that comes with it that is infectious, and people want to be a part of it, and that's why you're seeing this mass of students from the north trying to get to the south, whether it's the deep south or out west or wherever they're going to go, because they like the weather and they want to be a part of that energy.
That kind of fun.
Yeah, and then if you go to school down there, then you want to stay in that vicinity because you like it.
It was pretty great.
Yeah, and the weather's great. And
it was fun going around on that Thursday because I had to go around to various shops, and I found a butcher that if he was in this neck of the woods, nape of the way, I would be frequenting his establishment. They had, you name it, they had it. Like seriously, you name it, that it is a meat that can be consumed from whatever animal you want.
Oh, really?
Oh, they had it. They
exotic
had it
meats, whatever you need.
Anything you wanted.
Oh
and also
gosh.
just great looking steaks and the way they had it all. We should get some Hoff beef into that place. Everywhere I went, I would say 75% of the people were in U of A gear that day.
Yeah.
In the city. And when we traversed a great deal in this city.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. I'm like,
this doesn't surprise me at all, though. I mean, I that's how a lot of those places operate. I mean, quite honestly, that's like how Columbus, Ohio operates.
Yeah.
Like 80% of the people walk, and that's a city of 3 billion.
And I'm just like, here where I go, I'm like, bear down,
yeah,
brother.
They're all
like,
jacked up.
Let's go.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty great. It's cool. There's a good energy to it.
It was funny. One of Lori and Ken, they didn't come over on Thursday because they said, look, we either go to the games or we watch them on our couch, and we're very superstitious about this. And I said, listen, Lori, I hate to break this to you, but we haven't been to the Final Four since 2001, and we haven't won it since 97. So
it ain't working.
Your superstitions aren't working. So just come over and hang out.
Right.
I mean, it'd be one thing if we had never lost.
Right, sure. No, not that. It hadn't been the case.
It hasn't been the case.
No.
So they actually they came over to watch the Saturday game. We were gone, but watched the Saturday game at Zago's, and it was pretty nervy at half. They're probably thinking like, man, this is our fault, but they stayed and saw it through.
They're probably nervy that their coach is going to go to Carolina because it feels.
I don't want to hear any of that. You know who's saying that? Chip's sitting in the back of the room on Thursday night. He keeps going, "Oh man, he's going to be great." Is there talk about it right now?
Yeah, there's quite.
Where?
It's all over. I ran some audio from it this morning from his press conference. He basically answered.
He's not allowed. No,
he's great, man. It's easy to like him. That's an interesting decision. I mean, because most people consider Carolina basketball the best job in college athletics.
I don't know.
Most people do, or on a short list is that job. Football or basketball, like it's revered in that way. I know you don't like hearing that, but
it hasn't had the success though.
Can't be perfect in life.
When's the last time they were good?
Oh, they won a national championship not 5 years ago, probably 6 years ago. Like what, 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there?
Something like
But it had been a drought before that? Like, is it one in the last?
No, Roy Williams won 3 in the 2000s. And
2000s.
then they won 1.
This feels like they haven't been great in
No,
the last
Roy
20
won
years.
3. Hubert played for 1, but lost, and Roy won 3.
Coach K's finale.
That's right. In the Final Four. Yeah, that's right.
They had Pablo and lost.
Pablo Banchero. The Duke list of players that they've had come through there that not win a title.
I have a list
from Zion.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you do.
Oh yeah.
Get you updated a little bit on league meetings here as we handle some football stuff here. We will not be signing edge AJ Epineza, as previously reported. The team backed out of the deal after some concerns were raised during Epineza's physical, per Daniel Oyefusi. So. And of course, you and I litigated this in regard to what had happened with the Ravens. 2 very, very different situations in that one is voided then the next day Hendrickson is signed. Very different than this circumstance here.
No, this is just – this wasn't even a day one that affected everything that your team and the other team were doing in free agency. No. This was your hope. You get a guy in who was coming off of a little bit of a down season and seeing what he could do, and – he was going to be our 4th defensive end. This was our 4th defensive end. This wasn't a franchise centerpiece that was going to go for the most. Now, it'd be one thing if we decided, we were going to make him the highest paid defensive end in NFL history, and then we were like, actually,
slightly different circumstances.
Yeah, couldn't be more different. It's apples and tacos.
Some other, and then so you would have to assume we would be in the defensive end market a little bit trying to add to that. And there's still a lot of great names out there. The fellows put out here, Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa, Danico Autry, Leonard Floyd.
Well, bring Joey Bosa back to Ohio.
Yeah. Some of these guys, some of these cats are going to be guys who are trying to chase rings in places.
Well, in part, I think these guys are, for the most part, not gross matos per se, but for the most part, these guys are going to come. These guys aren't coming in to be your fourth D end. We were looking for our fourth D end.
Yep.
Maybe third. But our top two are Myles Garrett and Alex Wright. I mean, we just signed Alex Wright to that nice extension.
Yep.
You got McGuire. We're looking for somebody to replace Cam Thomas, which didn't happen. By the way, I don't know if this is on here. I don't believe that it is on here, so I'll just add it in right now. The Browns have withdrawn their proposal that was going to allow teams to trade 5 draft picks 5 years into the future instead of 3, according to the NFL Network. Would have been considered. At least 24 teams would have needed to vote in favor. Sounds like that was not going to be the case, and so they have withdrawn it.
Yeah, that was in here, I believe.
Was it?
Second last note from the bottom.
There we go.
It's there. It is
per
there.
Tom Pelissero.
Per Tom
All right,
Pelissero.
good.
So it's
You are
there.
mid-season form. Welcome back.
We're back.
There's a lot of bullets right there, and I saw it as being from, I didn't see from
So
Tom
that's the
Pelissero.
one where you
Nonetheless.
could trade a first-round pick more than 3 years in
5.
advance,
Yeah, 5
all the way
years
up
in
to
advance.
5, and so they have withdrawn that. But they got people talking, and maybe that was the objective of all of it.
Yeah.
Who knows? At the annual owners meeting, which are taking place in the Valley of the Sun, a couple of updates as it goes along. Should have some availability. Do we have the AB? Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we bring it next.
Coming up next. Todd
Wanna have a
will-
comment for
Todd
him?
will address as well.
Got nothing for you?
Well,
Working out the kinks. He's got some congestion going on. He's back in the great state of Ohio.
gotta be,
so
there's got to be some sort of a allergens.
he's
or
got a
something.
head
I
cold.
don't know what's going on.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
this
you're
is,
doing.
I'll tell you when the break what this is.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is.
Speaking of us, we are working on hoisting joint practices with the Buffalo Bills
That'd be fun.
this summer, which would be fun to see Josh Allen and the
in
boys
person, yeah.
slinging it around. And then the other big news, and this is a lot of the local talking point this week, is the Browns have modified the language of Myles Garrett's contract. AB says he is a Brown for life, but that got a lot of attention locally over the weekend about the restructuring.
Got a
that
lot of
deal.
attention nationally. It got a
Sure
lot of-
did.
It was basically the most talked about thing on Good Morning Football this morning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Who knows?
Who knows? Right.
AB does address this in
Yeah, he does.
what we're going to play here in a second. One other thing from our team.
Says I'm not wasting any breath on this. Quite
Yes,
frankly.
he does. Shador is going to wear 2.
I happen to have it, number 2 Shador jersey, ready to go.
You ready? How did you get one?
We had an opportunity to get like old jerseys of players, any numbers. Remember when we did that?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, you remember
You
I was
picked-
in Italy and you guys gave me a jersey?
A Chase Winovich.
Oh, we did give you a Chase Winovich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
That's
for
a
you.
Great one.
Boy, that went
That
over
was
well.
fun, I bet.
Yeah.
When you went, yeah.
It was the guy's number.
I'm
He was a
aware
player
of the
here.
guy's
He was a
number.
great, and
And a
Wim
great
Hof,
dude.
And he's a great human.
He's
Yeah.
a great human.
Wim Hof, yeah.
Yeah, he'd come in and do the cold plunges,
Cold
and all
shower,
that,
yeah.
cold
Yeah.
showers, all of that.
Yeah, so I got it too and puts it because I had a feeling. In the words of the great Matt Hardy, I had a premonition.
So was that MJ wore 2?
No, MJ was 1. He went from 23 to 1. It was DeAndre Carter.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
DeAndre
Shador
Carter
goes
last
to
year.
number 2. I always wonder about, and I suppose, I don't know if there's a statement or anything, but I always worry about all the people who bought the 12s.
I'm sure
It
we'll
just
do.
stinks.
Hopefully, he'll do like a free alteration. It's easy. Take the 1 off, move the 2 over to the center. Boom. There you go.
Well, on the screen printed, that's not quite as easy.
Well, it's gonna be a
The
little more
12s
challenge.
becomes something else
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
point. You get a new name on it. But, yeah, so is that, I guess it's official as can be. He's put it out there.
He's put it out, and we have posted it as well here in the last 20 minutes.
There you go.
There it is.
All right, kids. There you go. Those are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. AB from the owners' meetings out in the desert. Coming up next, we're off and running. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly. Car, truck, or motorcycle accident cause you injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk & Oak's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to head to the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Here's your general manager, Andrew Barry, from the owners' meetings.
Done some work.
You're done.
Just how do you feel about what you guys have been able to do here? The first 2 waves of free agency.
Good so far. Obviously, still a lot of work to be done. I think, as we look specifically with that offensive line group, good players, but also very versatile. And particularly like with Elton and Titus, both of those guys are players who can, play at a quality starting level at multiple positions across the offensive line. And that's super helpful because it really is a war of attrition with that position group. I think something like we looked at it as either 23 or 24 teams last year played less than 50% with their starting 5. Of course, we were one of them. And so to have that resiliency built into a position group where you have guys that can start all across the line of scrimmage, it's really important, in addition to the flexibility it gives you going into the draft.
So where are you playing Elton Jenkins?
Yeah, so it's TBD. He's honestly like, he can play center, he can play guard. That's something that we're going to sort out as we get at least a little bit further through the acquisition season. This is a guy who's played, starting level snaps at left tackle, right tackle, left guard, center. He can really do it all. We would view him more as an interior player. That is what we think is more his natural home. Whether it's center or whether it's guard, we'll work through that as we put together the position group this spring.
As you talk about that versatility piece, how important is that going to be for how you guys approach potentially drafting, looking at alignment in the draft as well? Yeah, it gives flexibility. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, we feel good if we had to line up and play today that we could, with that group of linemen. But it certainly doesn't pigeonhole you into anything as you get to draft weekend.
Well, who would be your center today?
Today, hard to say. Like, honestly, it really depends on the competition at really one of the other guard spots opposite Zion. Obviously, we have Elton. We re-signed Tevin. Zach and Luke, they're guys that are going to have greater opportunity now that those bets are gone. So it's really where we would just be looking for the best pair.
Finish that thought. So Zach finished playing center. Is he earmarked to compete at center?
You mean Luke? Do you mean Luke? Zach really finished playing guard for us. You mean Luke finished playing center for Posick?
Well, Luke got hurt in the Cincy game, and Zach finished center.
Zach's more natural position is guard. He can do
So
do
he's not
both,
a competitor for center.
I would say this. Well, he can do both. We think his more natural position is guard. Is that fair enough to say? Yeah.
Andrew, since this was such a hot topic over the last few days or so, can you address what was the impetus behind the Myles Garrett contract modifications, and then also, of course, the corollary to that is everybody thinks you're going to trade him. So if you could talk about those 2 issues.
Yeah. So I think you guys know I have standard practice. I don't comment on player contracts. I guess probably the easiest thing to say is if we wanted to trade Myles, we wouldn't have needed to make a contract adjustment. So it doesn't have anything to do with that.
Why did you do it?
So again, I don't comment on player contracts. I understand the question and the interest, but it's just something that we've always felt not to comment on player contracts or contract management strategy.
So can you state unequivocally that you're not trading Myles Garrett?
I'd say this, Mary Kay. Myles is a career Brown. He is one of the faces of our organization. I think we've been very clear, both past and present, in terms of our feelings of that. So I understand all the questions. I'll be honest, I don't really want to waste a ton more breath on the topic. Okay.
Sure, but you feel like you guys are in a good spot with Myles?
We do.
Yeah.
As it pertains to the quarterback position, is it just safe to assume that the incumbents, the current room, will be competing for the starting position? Or when you look to add a potential 4th quarterback, would you prefer the draft? Would you prefer signing a vet in free agency? Or how are you kind of looking at the quarterback room as it stands?
Yeah, I'd say, Daniel, that you always want to be flexible because you don't know how circumstances change or what opportunities come your way. Our lean would be, if we do add someone to the quarterback room, it would be someone who's a younger player, most likely. But I can't state that definitively because I don't know what the next couple weeks will hold. Anyone that we bring in at any spot on the roster, our thought is that they are competing. They're competing to play. They have something that we like in their skill set, and our expectation would be for them to work hard and compete.
And Andrew, with regards to the Shador versus Deshaun specifically, how much do you balance short term with long term, knowing that team control with Shador goes well beyond 26, whereas Deshaun, there is sort of a another hurdle that it creates.
Yeah, I think we're probably just more focused on performance and best players. Certainly, time horizon factors into that. But just with any veteran player, there's no rule against extending the player's contract if they perform and they do well. So I wouldn't necessarily box it into any one approach. It really will be performance based.
At the combine, you kind of were 50-50. I mean, it almost seemed like Deshaun and Shador, like you were totally fine with either one of them if it worked out that one of them were the starters. Is that still where you stand right now? Does it sort of still seem like they each have an equal opportunity to win the starting job?
Yeah, I'd say as we sit here on March 29th, and nobody has touched the grass, nobody has really worked with our coaching staff. I wouldn't handicap it for anyone. I think everyone in that room deserves opportunity. And so we'll certainly know a lot more as we get to the spring. We'll know even more as we get to camp. But I think, honestly, we wouldn't be doing the right thing for the team. We wouldn't be doing the right thing for that position, if we didn't go in with it eyes wide open.
What was the impetus to expanding the scope on trading draft picks? Do you see the reaction to it, and do you expect it to pass?
Yeah, so Daniel, in terms of the impetus, we've largely been believers in, easing restrictions in terms of how teams can use their resources. So this is in a similar vein, and really just giving more flexibility to teams in terms of volume and creativity of transactions. As we look at it, our league relative to the other major leagues, the basketball you can trade, pick 7 years out. Hockey, I don't think there's any limitation. Obviously, baseball is the most restrictive, that you can't trade picks at all. To us, 3 years is really probably more of an arbitrary, marker in terms of how far out you can, deploy your future assets. Honestly, Daniel, I think a lot of the, perhaps resistance is this idea that, a desperate general manager, a desperate head coach can, leverage a team's, future irresponsibly. I think that's a little bit more rooted in fear than reality, though. And I think for two reasons. I think, number one, there is always ownership oversight for every franchise. But two, probably the bigger point, if you look back over the last 10 years, I think there have been 27 trades that have included a pick 3 years out. And of those 27, only 3 have included a first rounder, and only another 4 have included even day 2 picks. So I don't think you're all of a sudden going to see this trend where people are trading picks, 4 or 5 years out. I think those are very rare circumstances. But what it does do is it gives you more creative alternatives for, I would say, maybe less signature or less aggressive moves because of how you want to balance the discounting of present versus future assets.
When you talk about the quarterback situation, how realistic is it that you will add somebody? You said it would probably be a younger guy. Mm-hmm. How realistic is it that you would add somebody that would actually come in here and compete for the starting job? And then the corollary to that is just how realistic is it that you would draft Ty Simpson at some point?
So I guess I'll start with the first question. I think it's wholly realistic, Mary Kay. In terms of them competing for the starting job, anyone we bring in, we want to compete. But a large part of that will be, for any young player, will depend on their acclimation to the NFL and their readiness to play. And that's really done on a case-by-case basis. In terms of Ty specifically, I think you can understand we wouldn't necessarily comment on specific prospects. We have spent time with Ty. I think that's obvious, and we'll continue to do so. But I think he has a bright NFL future.
Last year, you were very visible in the quarterback pro days. Mm-hmm. This year, you're not. Why?
I think just every year is unique, Tony. Where you're picking, the particular class, the access that you have, particular individuals. But we also do have We're a month out for the draft, so there still is a lot of work to do.
Obviously, still no official answer from Joel in terms of what his decision is going to be. Do you guys feel you kind of have to operate from a place of where you can't bank on him coming back this season?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Joel's going to take the time that he needs to, make the decision for the next step in his career, and like he should, right? It's a pretty big life decision for him. I don't think that we can operate under the assumption that he's absolutely coming back, because he hasn't said that's the case, and I do think that there's a little bit of like an indefinite time period in terms of where he's going to make the decision, because it's a major one for a person, and we respect that and can appreciate it.
But is the door open? Like, do you still want him back, given, you guys obviously let the dead money kind of accelerate onto your cap this year. So, and there might have been ways you could have somewhere maybe maneuvered that if you could have done it differently. So is it still like an open door for him to return?
Yeah, I'd say the door's always open for good players, and certainly, players who have done as much as what Joel has for the organization. But, ultimately it's his decision in terms of how he wants to navigate things before.
You hold pick 6, and externally everybody's guessing on 2 to 5. Are you guys guessing too?
You mean like
who it might who's going where?
I gotcha. Yeah. So as we get into April, Zach, we'll do a lot of scenario planning, and we'll get into those exercises. I'd say right now we're still more towards the end of the evaluation phase, especially as like the pro days die down, the privates die down, a little bit of like touch up Fillmore. But, here over the next month, we'll get into that more heavily.
Who makes the call to quarterback? Is it an organizational decision, or is that Todd's call strictly?
In terms of that's always been the head coach's decision. Yeah. Whoever is playing on the field, that's always the head coach's decision. Yeah.
Andrew, what's going on at wide receiver so far? You've just added a return specialist.
Yeah,
basically.
I'd say that we have a group of individuals that we like internally, that we're excited to see as they come back into the off-season program. I would imagine that at some point in the off-season we'll add some external talent. But like I said, we're March 29th. We've got probably another 5 months in the heaviest period of the acquisition season. So we'll see where it goes.
Specifically about Shador, you have mentioned at the end of the season, Todd has mentioned that he still has a long way to go. How far does he have to go to get to the point where you guys would feel comfortable putting the season in his hands right from the start?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit TBD, Mary Kay, because I think all of our guys coming in, they're going to learn a new offensive system. We're going to have a fair amount of turnover on that side of the ball. They'll have new teammates to learn, which is why the spring will be really important, for the guys that are at the offseason program, for us to really, really get a sense of their progress year over year. But, he's been working really hard. I would expect him to take a step forward, and, we'll deal with that kind of week by week and month by month.
You said you prefer a younger fourth quarterback. Does that mean draft pick only, or a younger veteran?
I wouldn't say. I would not. I wouldn't rule out any method of acquisition.
When you kind of gone back and looked at the last 3 years, the number of, is that, have you adjusted anything based off of kind of re-examining the last 3 years? Is there the injuries? What has kind of led to it? And kind of what have you guys learned from, studying the amount of turnover you guys have had on the line?
Yeah, so I think number one, it's fairly prevalent across the league. Like probably keeping a position group of 5 players all on the field the whole season is probably fairly unrealistic. That's one thing that we've learned. 2, I think if you look at where we were, take out the 25 season, but 24-23 in terms of our injury rates, it's a big reason that we made some of the changes that we did in the health and performance basis, and we really started to see those returns, this year in terms of keeping those guys on the field. To that group specifically, I think probably this past year, really a big part of it was, that group really did age out for us, and we understood that we were going in with a little bit of an older group there. I do think that as we turn over that room, I think or hope that some of that will take care of itself, in addition to some of the changes that we've made in downstairs in the health and performance spaces.
I think a year ago it was at the owners' meetings where the trade from 2 to 5 really kind of started to come about with James Gladstone. A year later, how do you reflect on that trade? Maybe what you got, from the rookies in the short term, and also like the long term outlook, as well as how the trade has kind of set you up for this upcoming draft.
Yeah, I think it's something that made sense for both organizations at the time. I think for us, the ability to, realistically draft Mason, draft Q, and then obviously be sitting here with pick 24, it made sense for where we are in our team's life cycle. And it's a way, maybe a little bit to Tony's question earlier, that you're able to manufacture assets or resources without necessarily, trading away a veteran player. So it was an opportunity that came about, and we were fortunate for what we were trying to achieve. And we do think that it puts us in a good position with what we've also added already this
Do you
offseason.
feel teams are reluctant to give up 27 picks this year? Because of the quality?
I wouldn't say so, because I think, because I want to think, like, what is it, 6 teams have 2 firsts this year, or something along those lines. I can't remember how many have given up their 27 picks, but I think there will be a market for those 27 picks if I had to guess.
And do you want to be in that market?
Hey, listen, we can have more premium assets. It's helpful. I think you can look back to last year, like, there are some really good players in last year's draft, the top of last year's draft. We felt like we got one of them at the last year's draft, and by moving back 3 spots, essentially to get a 1 and a 2, it made sense for us.
In a perfect world, would you trade down from number 6 in this draft? And then I have a follow-up question to that.
I think it really just depends on the prospects that are available. I'd like to. Look, this is what I say. I don't know that. What I'll tell you guys is, I don't know that we are going to be picking 6 at the end of April. And if we are picking 6, I have no idea what we're going to take at this point. And so we try and remain flexible, as we go into draft weekend, and we want to use the asset in the best way possible, whether that's sitting and picking, trading up, trading down, trading up for a veteran player. I know I said this last year and people thought it was just GM talk, but it really is the truth.
And then the follow-up to that.
I don't ever do just GM talk.
The follow-up to that is, do you think there is a world in which you can secure another first-round pick for next year?
I'm sure that world exists. I don't know the specifics of it today.
How does the multitude of teams that have multiple first-round picks, obviously including yourselves, how does that kind of change the dynamic of the first round, maybe flexibility with trades and how you kind of prepare and maneuver?
I actually don't think it changes it that much, Daniel. Maybe I'll be wrong once we get to draft weekend, but I don't think that's really had a major impact.
So you don't think that it'd be easier or harder to trade because?
No, I don't. I really don't.
When you're looking at these quarterbacks in this draft, there seems to be a lot of, not a lot of reps in terms of game started. Nussmeier, there's questions of health and that, how much did that impact? How much, when you're evaluating these guys, how much are you weighing those kind of extra things?
Context is important for any prospect, and that's not just the quarterback position, but probably particularly strong for the QB position because it's so interdependent on everything else, around it. So those absolutely, weigh into both the evaluation and then the final valuation in terms of, okay, where do you value the particular prospect? So it's something we absolutely take into account.
When you talk about rebuilding and the cycle of your roster, what can fans expect in terms of your ability to contend for the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I think we're way too early for that discussion because we are 2 weeks into the new league year. So we've got a long